A driver winning in Zandvoort by over 20 seconds. We have certainly heard that story before, but this time it wasn't the driver we expected. Lando Norris came away with his second ever career win literally earlier on today. Will is with me to react to the weekend and everything that happened in the off-season. Will, how are we?
I'm all right, actually. Again, work meant didn't get to see the race. Came back first thing, watched the highlights. No Ben today. Family comes first. With Ben, we've always said that family, work, all comes first. But I'm sure. Oh, wait. Do you have the predictions?
Oh, I don't.
Oh no!
We have
Oh
to.
no!
To be fair, the next episode will be next week, so it'll be pretty much double points.
Yeah, it might be double points.
So I say we leave it till next week. That could be quite interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I forgot no one got the predictions. Okay,
No.
well, that makes things
Well,
interesting.
I mean,
I don't think anyone
very
done
well.
well. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think anyone done well. No.
Can we just take it back to the start of the season when we kind of had an idea of what was going to happen, rather
Yeah,
than being just totally up
I
in
mean,
the air?
I think it's become, like we said last week, it's become, we all seem to have the same 5 to 7 drivers in our top 5, but you cannot tell the order.
No, I mean it seems like every 5 minutes they chop and change what position they
Yeah,
are.
there
And
isn't like a set top 5 for me. Like it's literally just a case of that we all have our top 7 basically, and then it's take a gamble of where you think they're going to finish and roll that dice. Like it's crazy. But
I
yeah,
mean,
what are
if
you
you
going to
went if you went off of practice, you would have been like, yeah, bang on. Lewis is going to be top 5 in quali.
Yeah, facts. And then yeah, crazy. And like you said, not the first time we've seen orange light up Zandvoort, but Lando Norris with his second ever career win in some dominant style as well, like 22 seconds. I saw F1, the F1 admin post the graphic of him on the podium with statement as the thing. I was like, damn, that is cold. That is
Like,
absolutely cold.
I think it's fair to say that me and you this season have been highly critical of Lando, but whatever he's done in the off season, he has come back with a bang, and fair play to
Well, I
him.
tell you what, did you see his start? The
His
start,
start was horrible.
nothing but pure will speed. And I honestly thought, because I'm not gonna lie, Twitter as well, like people get on us like, oh yeah, we're just generational Lando haters. You check Twitter, you check any social media platform now, it is like, all right, Lando's on pole. How quickly does he bottle it into turn one? Like I was seeing loads of memes from it, and I might be just on like hate Lando Twitter, but like it is what it is. But I saw that start, and I was like, oh, he's done it again. How on earth has he won this race? He's done it again. Like that is because that's not even like Max has got him going into turn one. Max is ahead of him 20 meters from turn one. It's crazy, but it's just it's unbelievable. But some drive though, like
Absolutely phenomenal drive. But I think before we talk about the race weekend itself, this is the first time that we've spoken to each other since before the off season, and well, a lot has happened. I've been shot in the head, apparently, according to TikTok and
yeah. I
Instagram.
don't know how you've been shot in the head, but go with it. Someone clearly that's a Daniel Ricciardo fan has taken his toll
Well,
on
no,
you.
no, no, I genuinely think it is. I mean, the past month, I've just been in the wars. I mean, I've fractured my knee, I fractured my hand, I cut myself last night while cooking, and then I've got this massive
What actually
gouge
is it?
out my head.
What actually is it? It's
Uh,
just a spot gone bad.
well, no, we think it's an infected bug bite. So
Ugh, brother, what?
yeah, no,
Mate,
it's been lovely for me. So yeah,
mate.
really been a good few months. But the transfers in the off season have definitely cheered me up. Do you want to take me through the ones that you can remember?
Well, a day after we posted the Spa episode, a day literally after, it was announced that Carlos Sainz has finally made his decision. You're a bit thirsty, mate. Carlos Sainz has finally made his decision on where he's going to end up. And it is Williams. And we all said that, like, okay, if you're Sainz, you're now thinking, how long can you realistically hold out for? Personally, me, I am and I ain't happy about this move. I'm happy that I'm a big Carlos Sainz fan. I adore Carlos. I am happy he's still in F1. I just wish he was at a more competitive team. Because don't get me wrong, Williams shine. They have their moments where they shine. But I mean, don't get me wrong, Albon and Sainz is some lineup. Like that is a fantastic lineup, and I really think that next season they won't be like. I don't think they'll be back market team, depending on how well they get the car going. But I do think if you honestly, the way you watch Albon drag that car, watch Sainz, because I think Sainz will outperform Albon almost instantly. I think Sainz will instantly outperform Albon. But I think I'm really glad he's staying in the sport. I think it's fantastic. I just wish it was a more competitive team. But I guess the other kind of thing about that was it's now very heavily rumoured that it's going to be Kimi Antonelli to join Mercedes. And I think that played into Carlos's hands, which was, okay, I now either take this or Williams are going to go, you know what, you're taking the mick a bit here. So, yeah, that was literally a day after we finished the Spa episode. And that came out of the blue. And I remember it got sent to our group chat and we all just went, eh? This is a bit new. But I mean, it was rumoured, but it was never confirmed. So, yeah, what's your take on it, man? Are you the same as me?
See, I'm kind of the shoe on the other foot. Like you're obviously you favour Carlos. You think he's a great driver. You think he's probably taking a step down, should be in a more competitive car. And don't get me wrong, I do agree with that. But I don't know. I just kind of have a love for Williams. The fact of all their history, everything that they've done in the '90s, the early 2000s, and then it's just it's sad to see the state of where they are now. But it's kind of one of those teams that, as a Brit, you can't dislike them
Yeah.
because it's kind of like they're realistically
Oh,
they're
yeah.
our team.
I
Like
don't. I
they
don't want. Yeah, I don't want people to think I'm hating on Williams here. Don't get me wrong. It's Williams. Like you do a point this where ask 100 people to name an F1 team. Some like at least 50 are saying Williams, but it's not me hating on them. I just think that where they are now compared to where I think Sainz should be as a driver, I think about Ferrari, McLaren, top tier teams like fighting at the front to then go to Williams that are, let's not beat around the bush. They are the bottom five. They are a bottom five. It's a bit of a shame, but like I said, I'm glad he's still in the sport.
I mean, they've definitely got a project going. I mean, to have James Vowles, Alex Albon, and Carlos Sainz in a team that's trying to push into getting to the points. I mean, it's kind of like it's like when a football club makes like a statement signing of someone like you didn't imagine to go to a
Yeah,
smaller club and they've all of a sudden bought this massive player in. It kind of feels a bit like that. I mean, it kind of felt like it with Albon as well when they first signed Albon, but this is kind of like the next step forward. Like this is kind of this is basically Williams saying, look, we're here to fight. We're not here to just sit around at the back anymore. We're
I do.
here to play with
Yeah,
the big boys.
I do think that is genuinely one of the strongest driver lineups for next season. Easy. Would you say it's the top? I think the first one is it's Lewis and Charles. Let's be honest, that's first.
I think there's a strong argument for Oscar and Lando.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And then second, it's Oscar and Lando, but that could swap around. And then it's who would it be? Would it then be? It depends if Perez stays, because if Perez stays, I'm going George and Antonelli, even though that's not confirmed, but it basically will be.
Well, that's the thing. There was a lot of things going. I mean, we'll go back to the other transfers in a minute. But the other driver change, the rumor going around with the Antonelli driver change is that it's going to be announced during this weekend at Monza. Obviously, him being Italian, he was at the Grand Prix today as well, actually, or he was at the weekend anyway. So. And as I've said in previous episodes surrounding Formula 2, he didn't start the season very well, but my oh my has he grown into it. But
Do you think
I mean,
he's ready? I think he needs another year in Formula 2.
You see,
You know, if anyone knows, it's you. If anyone's going to make the judgment, it's you.
I think it'll take a long time for him to adapt to an F1 car, but I think it's worth the risk. I think
Okay.
it's one of those. I think it's one of those where he won't be good enough at the start. It may take him a year or two to actually get to grips with the car, and obviously for a Formula One seat, you can't really have that. But if Mercedes truly see the potential in him of being a multiple-time world champion, you have to take that risk. They
Well,
can't risk what happened with. Obviously, there's been a whole load of things saying that Max was part of the Mercedes, was meant to be part of the Mercedes lineup. They didn't take the risk on him. Then look what happened. They
yeah.
don't want to take that risk again. So I mean, I'm all here for it. I mean, I want to see
If
him.
you're here for it, you are. I take your word. If you're here for it, you heard it first. I'm backing Ollie. Get him in F1.
But
But
there's another driver as well that I'm also very here for, Mr. Jack Doohan
Jack
getting a
Doohan
seat at Alpine.
isn't. Who do we? Is it Ben who thinks you look like Jack Doohan?
Yeah, I.
Yeah,
d- It was
Ollie's in an Alpine car. You don't
the,
look like him right now, but
the one reason that apparently I look like him is because I shaved my head, and then Jack doing the same haircut at the same time, and then Ben decided, oh yeah, you
he's
look
now
quite
grown
like.
it all out again.
Yeah, I know. I'm
He's now
not
got.
doing that. My hair will just go out. I've got really curly hair, so that's not going to happen. But yeah, no, I'm really really pleased for Jack to get the seat. I mean, on Martin's grid walk today, he was obviously speaking to Martin about his move to Alpine, and he just seemed really emotional about it. He seemed like he didn't seem to
Dream,
be
innit? It's the
too
dream.
excited. Martin was just going, "Oh, are you looking forward to it?" And I mean, Martin kept on calling him Mick. Obviously, Jack's dad is Mick Doohan, 5-time MotoGP champion. So that was quite funny. But yeah, no, I mean, I think he's going to do really, 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 really well at Alpine next year. I think he'll be a great addition to the team. And it's now if Lawson, I think it's if Lawson gets a seat and Danny Rick keeps his seat for next year, that'll be 5 out of the 20 drivers will be from either Australia or New Zealand.
Oh wow, damn, it's quite a lot.
So yeah, no,
He's
really,
speaking.
really, really interesting stat. But yeah, so obviously Antonelli is apparently going to be announced next weekend. We know that Doohan's gone to Alpine. We know that Carlos has gone to Williams, and I feel like I'm missing someone out.
Uh,
Esteban to Haas?
no, we covered that. Esteban Tahas, I swear we covered that. If I want to adjust my thing, there you go.
I've
I
done a
swear we
TikTok about it. Let me get up the TikTok because I done a TikTok about it. I did
definitely
3
did cover.
TikToks during the break.
Yeah,
So,
that must have been. Or
and
was it?
the other one
Wasn't it
was
before the Spa weekend though that it was announced he was going?
so doing. I know it's Aston Martin apparently making moves is the other one that I done, but regardless,
We're still waiting on. So basically, we're still waiting on confirmation of the Red Bull seat and confirmation of the Mercedes seat, and we're still waiting on someone who's going to take the Sauber seat for next year.
and RB as well because Sonoda's confirmed, but Danny Rick isn't. I think.
Yeah, but that's because they're waiting on the Perez situation.
Yeah, no,
Perez
I
also. That's it. Perez also keeping his seat, Ollie. What do you think about that? Because I thought he was going to be out the door basically the moment they left Spa. So
we all did. We all thought that he was going to turn up to Zandvoort, and he's changing and be name changed to Liam Lawson or Danny Ricciardo. But yeah, no, I am surprised with him not staying in the sport, but maybe keeping the Red Bull seat, especially. But I mean, he kind of proved us wrong this weekend. I mean, obviously, it's not at the level of what Max done, but P5 in qualifying, P6 in the race,
I
I
think it might
believe.
have been. Yeah.
So,
It wasn't bad. It's a good showing. It's a good showing. Especially for someone who has to make a statement, shall we say? It's a good way to start, but it's a long way to go for him. That is the thing. It's a very long way to go, and 9 races to decide your future. You've got 9 races. That's the
it's not
bigger
a
thing.
lot.
The bigger thing is, Ollie, 9 races away and a gap of 70 points between the top two.
Yeah, well, I mean, I worked this out earlier. just while I was watching the race, I just done it in my head. I was like, okay, there's probably 9 or 10 races. I kind of averaged it out.
There's two
And
sprints left, yeah?
I didn't factor that in, but I factored in just the main races. And if Max came second every race and Lando came first, Max would still win the championship. So
By how?
Lando would be you get 7 point advantage between first and second. So it'll be 7 points by the end of the season. So if Lando then gets fastest laps or he does better in sprints than Max does, then you've got a whole nother game on your hands
Do
there.
we think it's still possible, though? Because what was the gap between Lewis and Max around this time in
It must
2021?
have been 50 odd, I think. I don't think it was as big as 70.
I don't think it was as big as 70. Because
But
I remember after Zandvoort, it was basically like it's in Max's hands. Like it's a massive, massive gap. And then that's when we saw like demon mode Lewis. I think it's still on. I think it's still on personally.
It's certainly going to be interesting to see. I mean, I think the comparison to make between 2021 and now is the fact of sorry, I've got the IndyCar on right next to me, and Scott Dixon has just had a massive crash on lap 1.
Damn,
So
seriously.
for the viewers and listeners, I will keep either being quiet or looking down towards my left to see what's going on in the IndyCar. But going back to my point, I think the difference between
It's fine.
I think the difference between 2021 and this season is the fact of at no point was if we're going to say Max is Max from 2021 and Lando is in Lewis' position, the Mercedes was never at the point where the McLaren is now. The Mercedes was never dominant by 20 seconds because Max would always be there. So I think it could definitely happen, even though the margin is
Are we
wider. I
basically
think it
putting our
could happen.
foot down now to say Lando has a better chance? Lando has better odds.
I don't. It's hard to say because I think it's you can't ignore the gap that Max built, and you can't ignore the fact that Max for me still is the best driver on the grid this season,
Yes,
and
undisputed.
you can't ignore the gap that he's already got. But then at the same time, you look at how fast that McLaren was today, and then you're kind of like you're in two minds of thinking, right, Max has got this amazing gap. He's the best driver on the grid. But Lando's just won by 20 seconds in Max's backyard.
Zandvoort is more of a higher speed circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
I know what people are going to
watching
say. Like all Formula One tracks are high speed circuits, but more are more than others. So we've still got Monza, Mexico. I would say Kota, but that's not
Vegas is high speed.
Vegas. That's it. Azerbaijan. Do we throw Kota into that as well?
I'll say it's more of a mix because there are some sections which are really, really tight and
There's
twisty.
about 4 to
Qatar,
and Brazil and Qatar. Yeah.
So
There's about 4 to 5 tracks coming up that will suit that McLaren, I think, better.
Well, the thing is, I think what's quite interesting is that we were always saying, "Oh, the Red Bull's brilliant around high-speed tracks. There's literally no catching them." And then you look now, and the tables have turned.
It's credit to McLaren of how far they've actually brought the car. But like we said before, at some point you can't keep going. Oh wow, McLaren are overachieving. It's McLaren are where they should be. But like I said, I just want to go back to it. Like we've been accused of generational hatred of Lando Norris. That's just not true. We've been critical, yes, but by Christ, do we praise him when he deserves it? And today, just incredible, absolutely incredible. I want to use the word flawless, but I can't because of the star. But I want to say, I'm going to use the word mature. Very mature.
Yeah.
A drive worthy of a championship from very young shoulders. shall we say? A champion's drive from young shoulders. That's what we'll label it as. That's what we'll label it as.
I think what was really interesting, because that's the thing, that was kind of mine and your main issue with Lando, was the fact of he doesn't hold himself correctly in the car. If something goes wrong, then everything's gone wrong. It's not like, oh God, right, I've done one thing wrong, then I can't do anything now. This week, and then he will go back into the press box and go back to his team, and he'll be doing interviews, and he'll just seem miserable the whole time. This weekend, if anything's gone wrong, he's held himself really, really well. His character has been really strong. It's like he seems like a totally different person now than he did before the break. I think maybe this break has given him a chance to appreciate, actually, right, okay, I am in a title-winning car. I know I might have the credentials to win a title. Personally, it's the same with me for Charles. Like the same thing, I still don't quite see his potential to be a world champion. But I do see the fact of he seems to have matured a lot in a short space of like 3 to 4 weeks.
I think he, over this 4-week break, it's a 4-week break, weren't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Flew by. Over that 4-week break, I think he has watched every single race back past Miami, or maybe one or two before Miami, and looked at everything he done well and every time he made a personal mistake. And I think he has not only learnt, but took it on the chin and accepted his flaws and mistakes as something he needs to work on. And today, like I said, apart from that start, he got it perfect, but that start will come over time. He will get that start right eventually. But everything else was perfect. Like he was catching Max, but it wasn't a reckless dive. It was coordinated, it was planned, it was patient. It was like he had the belief to do it, but he wasn't desperate. He knew he had the chance. And I feel like if we'd have had the Lando that we'd have had before that break, there would have been a desperate lunge. There would have been I need to get this overtake now, rather than today it was, all right, I'll get him next lap. Let's close up. Let's put pressure on. I'll get him next lap. And I think it's all down to his team as well.
I think that's what's interesting, because I put in the chat when Lando started gradually catching back up to Max, I was like, there's going to be an incident here. I was dead certain that Lando was going to send an overambitious move, or vice versa, Max was going to send an overambitious move, and there was going to be an incident between the two. But there wasn't. They both held their own. I mean, Max didn't even have a chance. Lando, once he went past Max, had just gone.
Yeah,
Lando,
we haven't seen that in a while. Like, Max looked helpless. Max looked genuinely lost. We haven't seen that. Oh, sorry,
No.
took it out of me. Jesus.
But no, it was a fantastic performance from Lando. I mean, it feels like an age since we've been able to say Max hasn't been able to respond to anything that's been thrown at him, but he really couldn't today. But I'll say Lando teammate as well, Oscar. I think he had an okay race. I mean, McLaren is certainly the fastest car on the grid, but yeah, to be jumped by Leclerc through the pit stops and then not be able to get past him for about the final 20 laps, I believe it was, even though he was in DRS for the majority of them, was quite disappointing to see. But at the same time, credit where credit's due to Leclerc, because the Ferrari seems to be on point today.
Yeah, I feel like McLaren have nailed on this Constructors' Championship. There might be a late resurgence from Red Bull now that Perez found his form this weekend a little bit. But it just depends whether it holds up. You know, this is Perez. Like, he could go from finishing 4th to 16th and no one bats an eyelid. But it was, I feel like it is McLaren's championship to throw away, but I don't see them doing it. Because they're always there. They're always in the top 5, both cars. And if they're not, then there's probably an issue. Ferrari looked punchy. Ferrari did look punchy, and that's a long time since we've said that, because the last time we've said that was Monaco. And that was ages ago. But yeah, Ferrari looked punchy, back to full speed. I'll tell you something that does actually really fascinate me it's to see the difference in what cars suit what tracks. Because
Yeah,
like we people who say like, oh, F1's boring, the same person wins every week. That may have been true for a little bit, but it is really interesting to see what cars suit what different tracks. Because if you look at our predictions for qualifying, I don't think anyone had a Ferrari in their top 5. Oh, I might have had Leclerc. I think
yes, I think you did. Yeah,
I
yeah,
had Leclerc, but that's the first time anyone's put a Ferrari in their top 5 in about 4 race weekends. I feel, and it's weird to see coming in, and that's what I guess gives this season a bit more. Like I said earlier, a bit more like unpredictability, because out of the top 3.5, out of the top 3.5, I'm not counting Perez. You don't know who's actually going to turn up, who's going to be able to dial in quicker. And like you said, Ferrari back to the top. Mercedes, 3 wins, 3 wins the last 4.
yeah, yeah.
3 wins from the last 4. Shocking. Well, not shocking, but very lackluster.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis qualifying P11, then relegated down to P14 or 13, one of the two.
Yeah, P14.
For well, impeding Perez on a hot
Do
lap.
you think it was much of an impediment? Is that the word, impediment?
Impedsion.
Is that the word, impediment?
I don't know what the word is, but I do not think it's impedsion.
Impediment. Is impedient a word? I may have just
Impeded.
used a random word. I know it's
Do I,
impeded, but
do I think
is the
Lewis?
doing word impedient? I just said a
I
random word.
don't- Probably, but
Do you think it was impeding?
oh, I don't know because he's. I mean, obviously, where the racing line is, Perez would have come out to where Lewis would have been on the track. So I can see it from that aspect. But at the same time, it's kind of like, where could Lewis have gone? Like as oh, I can't remember his name from F1 TV, but one of the reporters on F1 TV said, well, where was Lewis going to go? Park on the grass.
That is true. I think it's 6.5 of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. A completely different stewarding team might have turned around and go, "What more could he do?" But the ones this weekend went, "Yeah, he was in the way." Also, impedient isn't a word,
I
so
didn't
that's
think.
great. Should be. So yeah, I think it's harsh but fair. It's like one of those ones where you can understand why it's given, but at the same time, if it wasn't, you'd understand as well.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but Lewis even turned around and said himself, from that moment, his weekend went downhill. His Saturday went downhill. And Mercedes done well. P7, P8, I believe. Yeah,
Yes.
P7, P8 done well. Claude's back some good points in the championship, but in terms of where they want to be and where they thought they were the last month and a half, it's nowhere near. To be
No.
like what, a minute behind the leader, just over a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. That's like 2022, Merc. That's
Yeah.
not like them.
No.
But again, like I said, it's fun and interesting to see what cars adapt to what tracks differently. Because, like I said, we had Russell and Lewis in our top threes, most of us, and then come qualifying, it's P7 and P14. So it's weird, but I think that it's interesting to see. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, well, I don't really. What other teams are we going to talk about? We can talk about Williams. I mean, that was certainly a interesting card this weekend. I mean, didn't start well in practice with Logan Sargent. I think it's key that we speak about that. I mean, the incident itself was horrific, and the fact
Oh
that
yeah,
he came out of it okay, just well, one, it shows how good the cars
safe.
are, but one, how good the cars are, but two, how good the safety actually around the circuits are. Obviously, it went in, so he came out of Tarzan. Is it Tarzan turn 3?
That's the word. Yeah, I think it's Tarzan. The
Or it's Tarzan Turn 1. The big, like,
Tarzan's turn one. It's Tarzan's turn one. I don't know what turn three is, but it's the massive banking.
yeah. But yeah, he comes out the banking, he's front right, dips into the wet grass a little bit, he spins across the track, his front end goes into the barriers, then he spins around, back end goes in, and then there's debris all over the track, a tyre going down the road, and his car then catches on fire, and then George is telling him to get out. I mean, it was a huge crash. The amount of damage there was ridiculous, so much so that he didn't compete in qualifying because his car was
I
too
knew as
damaged to
soon as
even
that
care.
happened. I knew as soon as that happened that he was going to be ruled out of qualifying because that needed a lot. Like to be on fire as well. Like, that's
Yeah,
finished. I'm surprised that car even got going like all weekend after that. To be fair,
yeah.
but yeah, again, Williams. Do we think Sargent goes? I think surely.
I mean, I think the repercussions of the incident that he had, obviously, I've just said he didn't compete in qualifying, but there are now heavy rumours that James Vowles' confidence has literally grown to like that thin with Logan Sargent, and his patience is running out. And apparently, there's rumours that Liam Lawson could potentially be filling the vacant seat if Sargent does go for the rest of the season, which, I mean, I wouldn't be
You reckon they'll
surprised.
get rid of him halfway through the season now, even though
That's
it's silly?
that's what's being rumoured. Yeah, that apparently James Vowles has grown that fed
It
up
would be
with.
harsh. That'd be so harsh if they do that. Like silly, that we have the summer break for that. To do that now, that's so harsh. That's so like. Don't get me
But
wrong. We're not massive Logan Sargent fans, but I don't think anyone deserves that. That's poor.
but then you've got to think about Williams aren't exactly the most lucrative team on the grid, and the sponsor that they've got, you've got to start thinking, or they're probably starting to think, we've literally got this guy who's not got, well, he's not finishing anywhere near the points. He's crashing every other weekend. We're putting our money basically into just repairing the car every weekend. Are we going to be wanting to sponsor the team that much? And then obviously that then goes on to James Vowles' shoulders, and James is then going to be like, do
Yeah.
we need to keep him if we're going to keep having to repair the car? So I can see why those rumours are floating about. They might be true, they might not be true, but Logan's performances. I mean, last year we said, does he still deserve a seat for 2024? And we all said probably not, but it's his first season. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's kind of like another Mick Schumacher situation in my eyes, where it's kind of like the first season you give him the benefit of the doubt, the second season you really have to up your game. And if anything, he's fallen off.
Yeah.
He kind of ended the 2023 season on a bit of a high. He kind of got points every, like, I think he got 1 or 2 points towards the back end of the season, but no points so far this season. And there's not been one moment where we've gone, okay, yeah, no, he actually deserves to be in this seat. I do unfortunately think that the rumours of him leaving well, it's not even halfway through the season now. There's only 9 races left, but to have 9 race weekends left and be kicked out your seat, it is harsh, but
Maybe fair. I don't know.
maybe fair.
I don't know. Something I am really looking forward to is the end of every year they release the cost of someone online. I don't know how people have the time to do this, like get a job, but it's for our entertainment, so fair. Someone releases the average damage cost per driver. I can't wait to see that because you got Perez and Logan Sargent going for the Ballon d'Or. I'm telling you, absolutely amazing to see. But yeah, I feel like it'd be harsh. I feel like it'd be harsh, but again, like you said, it's probably fair. It's probably if it's one of those ones. If they do it, understandable. If they don't do it, understandable. So it is swings roundabouts, but sponsorship plays into it a lot, like you said. And are they going to want to sponsor a car that's constantly being repaired? Probably not. It does the sponsorship a world of good though, because all the replays show their names
Yeah.
just
Well,
scattered across the track.
this is one thing that I found really funny. So I was watching it with the race with Finney today, and we were both sitting there, and then during Martin's grid walk, Martin went over to one of the barriers and kind of leaned over and was asking Logan to come over and speak to him about his race weekend, how he felt after the crash. And I mean, you could see by Logan's body language, he didn't really want to speak to Martin, and it kind of just, it seems like all his confidence has now been lost. I mean, let's be real, he's lacked confidence quite a lot of the time in the F1 seat. But I mean, this weekend he just he was walking past Martin at first before Martin asked him for a chat, and he had his head down. He just didn't look happy to be there at all. But
Do you reckon
the one thing that,
do you reckon he knows it's over?
I don't think he knows, but I think he's very aware that it could happen.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm trying to say. But the thing that I found quite interesting, going back to the point of sponsors, which made it quite funny, is the fact of as soon as he started walking over, so he's walking over, and his race suit was unzipped down the middle, and a bit open, getting air to his chest because obviously there was a lot of wind there. The sun was out as well, so it might have been quite hot. So getting some wind onto his chest might have been quite cool and relaxing for him. But as he went over to Martin, he saw the cameras were on him, zips up his race suit, puts all the Velcro down, sponsors' names all nice and in line. As soon as the interview finishes, he turns around and you just see him go, whoop. So it's interesting to see that that's how much sponsors have an effect on Formula One. It's like even during interviews, they have to make sure everything is on show and presentable. And I mean, you see them when they finish the race, they all get given watches from the brands that the teams collaborate with, whether it be Richard Mille or whether it be Tag Heuer. They're always given a box with a watch on. And it's quite funny because I think I saw a TikTok a while back, and they I can't remember the name of the F1 photographer, the South African F1 photographer. He's brilliant content on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. And the photos that he took was all the drivers wearing different watches. All of the drivers had watches with different times on. Like, even if it was like 6 o'clock in the afternoon that they were having a conversation, the watch would say like 3:10, because they're literally just given a watch to wear. It regardless.
It doesn't actually say anything. It doesn't actually like have anything like any like reasoning behind it. It's literally just showpiece.
Yeah, it's literally just sponsors. I mean, that's why they have all the sunglasses that they wear, headphones that they wear, and I mean, it shows.
Yeah, I knew they had all the hats and stuff like that they wear for a reason. But watching
Cash is
well,
the thing in Formula One. I mean, in most
Formula
sports.
One is a money-making sport. It's a money-making sport. If you don't make money, you're gone.
But going back to Williams, I mean, they had an incident with parts falling apart. They had an incident where they built a part that was too big. 3 millimeters too wide, to be exact, was the underfloor of Alex Albon's car, resulting in him being disqualified from a fantastic P8 in qualifying. And I mean, I said at the start of the year, and my prediction of Williams getting constant points has gone horrifically wrong.
Yeah.
But to see the Williams that high up the field, it was quite refreshing and nice to see. And I mean, Albon still finished the race quite well. I want to say P11?
P11, I believe. Yeah, I think he got nicked by Gasly and Alonso right towards the end because he went on a longer strategy. I think he tried a 2-stop or a 1-stop.
Yeah.
I think that's what he tried.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Williams. I think we write Williams off for this year and we go again next year. I think that's what we do, because I think next year for Williams it's going to be a lot better in terms of their driver lineup, their strategy. Just I think everything will be so much better. Also, some other transfer news that I completely forgot. Bono is not joining Lewis at Ferrari because he's got a promotion with Mercedes. Now, you might know more than me in terms of what the promotion is.
Not a clue.
You might not. Okay, all I know is after 7 years together, I believe it is now 7 years together, their duo will be it is now officially confirmed, it will be coming to an end at the end of this year. And I tell you now, Ollie, that last communication between them over the radio at Abu Dhabi, I will cry. I 100%.
It's going to be absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, we're going to see You're going to
Oh,
see tears from Lewis on the finish line. I mean, I reckon we'll get the donuts from Lewis in the Mercedes. I think it's kind of inevitable. Obviously, Alonso did in the McLaren
yeah.
um,
Could you
a few
imagine
years
though
back.
if
But
if during the race Lewis is chasing down someone and Bono just says something along the lines of, "For the final time, Lewis, it's hammer time," or something like that. Just I will melt. I will cry. And
Or Lewis goes, Bono, my tyres are gone.
yeah, just
Or if Lewis wins and it's get in there, Lewis. Oh,
oh,
I
I might
didn't
put a
even.
compilation together of every Lewis. It's hammer time. Just oh,
It's going to be an emotional one.
it's
I
gonna
mean,
suck.
the next season, I think it's going to be really interesting because obviously we've got the new regulations in 2026, which I mean, the car looks totally different to what it does now. Obviously, a lot shorter, narrower, a lot more aerodynamic by the looks of things. So I think as an early prediction for next season, I think it could be up for grabs, but for the teams in the midfield and a bit further back because I think the teams at the top of the grid are going to be too worried about right. Okay, we need to get the perfect car for 2026. So I think so. Let me cook. Let me cook. So I think some of the teams in the midfield and further back in the grid, maybe like the likes of Sauber, Williams,
Can
and
you work
Haas.
on the new car yet, though? Can you start designing the new car yet, though? I thought there was a cut
You,
off.
I think you can in 2025,
Yeah,
but I don't know if you can this season.
no,
But
I
what
don't.
I'm saying is, cars aren't like the bigger teams probably aren't going to develop their cars as much going on next year. That's my personal opinion. Obviously, they might, but I don't think we'll see as many upgrades from the teams at the top, but we might from the teams at the bottom because there'll be an area of opportunity for the teams further down the grid to go. Oh, you know what? The other teams aren't bringing upgrades. If we bring some upgrades, we can get some valuable points here. So I
Yeah,
think it could be quite interesting to see how that plays out. And I mean, obviously, that's just me
one, two.
having a crazy prediction, but
Well,
it's not a
it's not
stupid
the
idea to
worst.
think.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing we've said. We've said worse, but I think. I mean, overall, Ollie, what do you rate the Zandvoort Grand Prix? I'm going to give it a solid. I'm going to give it a 7 because there was a lot of overtakes, a lot of good racing, a lot of good racing, and I think the outcome as well with that I can't get over that image, that statement image. I cannot get over that. It's so cold. It's just so cold. I know Ben would have loved that as well, but I'm going to give it a 7, and I think my driver of the day is going to be Lando Norris. I think that's I think that's what it's going to
I'm
be.
gonna. I think I'm gonna have to agree. Actually, no. You know what? I'm gonna give it to Lewis. Obviously, coming from P13 to P8, I think it's a great drive from him. Or Alex, to be fair,
And
P11.
I forgot Norris actually won driver of the day, but this time we'll give it to him deserved. We'll give it to him
Yeah,
deserved. But I think that covers about everything this weekend and the
I,
weeks before them.
yeah, I think so. But I mean, for me, the weekend was certainly interesting. I mean, we obviously talked about a change in the tide of McLaren now being the fastest team, but that was kind of like, okay, no, we are the fastest team. It's not
Yeah,
all they might be. It's
are
we
we the farmers?
are. And McLaren, I mean, Lando took the race by absolute storm today.
I don't
Absolutely,
think if you'd have asked anyone coming into that Grand Prix that if you'd have said to people, yeah, Lando's going to win this by 22 seconds, not a chance would anyone have guessed
no.
that. Not so. So I leave you with this final question. I leave you this final question. At what point, at what race weekend does Max clinch this title? Or does he not clinch this title?
I think it's going to go down to a title decider in Abu Dhabi, and I
You
am
think it
so
goes
here
all the
for
way?
it. I
I
think it does.
think,
I th- I think the way how McLaren are, and as I said, if it keeps on finishing 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 between Lando coming first, Max coming second, there's only going to be 7 points in Max's favour come the end of the race,
and
come the end of the season,
we've got sprint weekends as well.
and we've got sprint weekends. So I think if it keeps on playing out the way it
We
has,
are one
oh, it's going to be close.
we are one max DNF or one max bottom half of the table finish, like 7th downwards from a
Well,
series.
one max Singapore race from last season.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he clinches it with 3 rounds to go. So Qatar, is it
Yes,
Qatar or
I'd imagine.
Brazil?
Or is it Vegas?
Is it
I think
Vegas?
it might be Vegas. I think it goes
Uh,
Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi.
I think he clinches it with 3 to go. With 3 to go, I think he has it. If we have a look, Vegas is the 3rd.
Oh,
So it goes
imagine winning your title in Vegas. Oh,
Italy, Azerbaijan, Singapore. Are we on a triple header now?
I think so.
Yeah, we're on a triple. So
And
30th,
then
so
you've got a 3-week
30th
break until
Italy.
Kota, I think.
Yep, Kota is then October the 18th. I think by Vegas he clinches it. I don't know if Lando can do enough because it is a 70 point. Yeah, it's a 70-point gap.
But if he keeps on chipping away like he has, I still believe Max will win the championship, but I do think it could come down to the last race. And I
Saying
don't
that,
know
though,
whether that will be there's a 25-point gap and Lando has to win and Max has to DNF, or whether it's going to be a 2-point gap and we're going to have a serious battle for the ages. But whatever happens, I think it will go down to the final race, and it is going to be a fantastic end to the season. No matter what happens, it is going to be so good to watch.
saying that though, I think it is possible. I mean, Leclerc's only 103 off, still on.
Oh God, no! Don't tell me that.
Yeah,
I
Leclerc's
can't
only
imagine
103 off. Oscar's only 120, 117 off.
Could still happen. It could
It's
still
still
happen.
possible. But and then the constructors as well. There's a 30-point gap.
I think the constructors is already wrapped up. I think McLaren have got that in the bag, to be perfectly honest.
Yep. Well, they are chasing Red Bull by 30 points. So I think we're going to go that.
And
And
if they keep on chipping away like they are, then
yeah, who knows what can happen. But I think it's going to be close. But I think by Vegas he clinches it. And you're saying it goes right to the end. I love to know what Ben thinks. Another thing is we don't have the predictions. I don't think anyone done well this week, but we'll leave it with Ben to sort out for next week, and we basically do a double points. But all that's left to say is, Ollie, that was Zandvoort. 9 rounds to go. It is all to play for, technically.
it is going to be such a good end to the season, and it's been brilliant speaking to you again, Will. Obviously, it's unfortunate Ben couldn't be here to speak with us, but this has been episode 16 of the Trackside Podcast. We'll be back next week when we review the Monza Grand Prix, and hopefully Kimi Antonelli is announced at Mercedes, and we will see you then. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.